All right, so I'm just gonna do a little intro here and a little bit of a tutorial, like a part one on making a hockey mask. On doing an initial paint, a weathering, a repaint, and just happy accidenting, one of these bad boys all the way to the finish. I can't really start at the beginning. I don't have any raw blanks at the moment. I have one with an initial paint job on it, but no weathering. Okay, so just it has a little over splatter from doing some stuff before, and I'll get to this thing in a second. Just kind of giving you a little bit of a like an up close and personal of what the process looks like. Now, this one, the two that I have done at the moment don't have clear coat. I like to throw a gloss clear coat on them when I'm done because it seems like the gloss clear coat will absolutely make these, like, make the layers stand, because this is layers. This is layering. This is doing stuff, undoing it, doing more, undoing some of that, and just each time, kind of like with the actual natural process of if this thing got this way in real life, versus just paint. Okay, it would happen over time with layers and layers being done and undone, and that's kind of really how these come to life. Painting them, right? Okay, so this is just one that I've got done at the time, and I'll share as I'm going, like some of the techniques that I've come across, just as I've done. I'm no expert at this. I'm no maniac mask. I'm no fiberglass mask. Those guys are there are people out there that can just absolutely run circles around me. I don't do movie specific or scene specific mask. I just do. It's just art, and it's fun, and it's therapeutic to do. I just have a great time doing it. But I can't put out like a repeatable product of scene number 5 from movie number 5 type of a deal. I just don't have that in me to do that. I'm not interested in doing it for like a production level thing, but it's just not my forte doing stuff like that. So I just like I started making music, and I put some up on my page, on my YouTube channel, and I took them down so that I could redo some of the stuff. But, just making music for myself that's fun for me to listen to. Most of the music that I'm not really a new music kind of guy. Most of the stuff I listen to is 20 or 30, 40, 50 years old, and I just listen to that same stuff over and over and over again. So I started creating some of my own music for things that I want to hear, and I'll put some of that stuff back up. But, some of it's based on like shows I like to watch or horror movies that I like, different things, just stuff that I want to hear. Well, this is kind of the same thing, making something that I want to see. Okay, so we've got, now these blanks, I got to shout out Big Hush on YouTube. He does hockey mask tutorials, and his store on Etsy is where I actually bought these. They're of I believe that they're probably just Chinese made, but they're way higher quality than like the Walmart stuff or Spirit Halloween stuff. I don't know that it's of any specific. I mean, it's kind of a basic hockey mask shape. It's not movie specific. I've bought some really expensive stuff back in the day. These things you can get for under $10. Again, you can go to Big Hush and or his go on Etsy and look for his store, and I think you can get like 10 of these with various chevrons for, like $90 or something. I've spent 60, $70 back in the day just on a single blank that was from a specific movie or whatever. And I'm not saying that those weren't better blanks because they were molded from a movie specific mold or something. And this is just kind of a generic hockey mask or but anyway, that's where I got these, and that's where I'll get the next batch of them because they're cost effective. And if I can buy 9 of them with chevrons or 10 of them with chevrons for $90, then I can play with a whole bunch more of these than I can, spending $60 a piece or something on them. Okay, so what we got here, this is the one we're going to be working on. As you can see from behind, they're just white ABS plastic. There's nothing special as far as a certain thickness. I don't know how many millimeters or fractions of an inch that would be. I mean, they're decent enough. I've never broke one. Like I said, it's already got the initial paint on it. And it's got some scratches. Ideally, when you put an initial coat down on this thing, what you want to do is go, because the plastic is really smooth and shiny, and you want to go with a super fine grit sandpaper, just to put the little baby scratches in it so that you got something for the primer to actually stick to, so that then the paint can actually stick to it. You can see that this has a lot of scarring underneath it. I did not do this the correct way. I just did it with what I had at the time, which was way too coarse of sandpaper. But you know what? We work with what we got. Like I said, it's got little splatter marks on it from when I was working on one of these other Hawks. So anyway, so I just wanted to go like a part one. We'll take this thing from where it's at, since I can't paint it for you, that initial spray paint. We'll just take it from here to the end. But this is, like I said, kind of a part one thing. Okay, so we're just gonna kind of scuff this thing up. It's in a yellow, typically like a almond, a white, or a yellow goes pretty good on these. I've seen some other stuff that looked really cool, just different colors. So anyway, we're just gonna take a little bit of sandpaper and we're gonna start putting some years on this thing. Like I said, it's a little beat up already, but that's okay. We're really my method of doing this the way I do it, just kind of happy accidenting this thing into completion. I can't say that any mask that I've had, I had an exact idea when I started that it was, it turned out the exact way. No, I just start kind of beating the hell out of it and throwing some English on it, and then it just all comes out in the end. And like I said, it's kind of like a layering process. I'll do some stuff, and then I'll undo some stuff, and then in undoing some stuff, you'll have some damage and things that are there from last time, the residual damage that stays, and there's some poetry in that. So we're not gonna get crazy in depth, and we're not gonna take this thing, like I said, to completion this round, but we're gonna start. I've got a kind of a thing with the eyes, so a lot of my paints, they've got a lot of damage and darkening around the eyes. I always preferred the Kane Hodder Jasons that had the blacked out eyes over the ones with like a crazy lazy eye thing. I never really got that. I don't know. To me, I never really looked at Jason as like a quote unquote zombie or whatever. That's what we're doing right this second. He was almost as much a spiritual being as a ghoul with a blade to me. He just kind of was a, yeah. So I kind of, long story short, I kind of dig the dark eyes, the hollow eyes. So yeah, so all of my stuff, that's just kind of a signature of my thing is getting some crazy, putting some eyeshadow on it. Okay, and it's when you're doing one of these, I did not get, and it's been so long since I actually painted this thing. I've even moved since then. I can't even tell you if, typically, ideally, you'll put primer under this. I can't even tell you that I have primer under this. Like I said, this is kind of a little bit of a shoddy go here. Or it's not how I would ideally tell somebody to go about it, but like I said, we're just going to work with what we got to start with. I'll just get a little bit started, and we'll make it a part one. I don't want to make too long of a video. I don't want to wear anybody out with it. I just thought, here's the thing. I'm one of these guys. I'm a blue collar guy. I've always worked with my hands. I've worked since I was 11. Okay, and something that always chapped my ass my entire life is asking how to do something and getting smart-ass comments back instead of somebody that knows how just showing you how to do it, I've done a lot of things, a lot of different, professional things, and like I said, nobody came out of their mom knowing how to do any of them. They all sucked and had to learn sometime. So that's my thing. One of my things with, as far as like sharing, music I make and different things, I want to, I might get into making blades and different stuff, but I want to teach people how to do the things I can do, because that gatekeeping crap it's obnoxious and it's completely unnecessary. I can't stand guys that do that. They're kind of losers in my book. So I would rather share what we know than we all know how to do it, and then I'd like to see what somebody else can do with what they learn. So, yeah, I'm not the gatekeeper guy. So, anyhow, so like I said, I'm kind of working on the eye here. This is kind of what it looked like a second ago, and this is kind of what it's starting to look like now. All these little scratches and this missing paint, little voids, things like that. As I start applying darker paint over this and then taking it back off, you're going to see a lot of that staying in these scratches and voids and things like that, and then that's where you get your layers from. So, like I said, I don't really have a theme or specific idea for this mask. I'm just gonna beat it up with you guys here. So we're just gonna kind of work on it around the eye and nose here, and then I'll call it an evening after that. You can use anything. Emery paper, that's great. A razor knife, any kind of a knife, a file. I've used a wire brush. Here's a rasp. You can do a lot of things pretty quick with a rasp here, and don't get upset if there's a little paint missing. It's not a huge deal, and as you can see with this one right here, that missing paint, it adds character, and it adds to those layers that are just gonna absolutely pop once you get clear coat on it. Blood was a really tough thing for me to figure out. Dudes like Maniac Mask and Fiberglass Mask and some others, absolute perfection. I don't know where those guys learned how to do it. Probably just learned it on their own. But yeah, their stuff is like fine wine. Mine, I'm just kind of figuring out how to do it and not make it look completely ridiculous. So anyway, back onto the Hock here. Yellow is kind of a part 8 thing, the Manhattan one. Let's see here. And if you get into doing anything like this, like say you might, for one thing, it's art. It's it's like it says poetry, and it really is therapeutic just to sit down and weather the daylights out of something and just watching it turn into something. Because I think that most people are probably a lot more creative than they think they are. and more creative than a lot of people in life has given them credit for, you know. And this is just something you can do at home with a little bit of acrylic paint from Walmart, you know, something to scratch with, a can of spray paint, and a $9 hockey mask, you know. And you could make a Halloween costume, a gift for somebody, or just, you know, I don't even sell mine. I just make them, and a lot of times I just end up giving them away. Just because I like the process. So anyway, yeah, we're just doing a little work here, like Bob Ross. If Bob Ross was a early 40s Midwest blue collar guy that's, you know, farmed and drove dump trucks and all kinds of stuff. All right, so we're getting a little here, and a lot of this stuff, it doesn't look like much now, but it's really gonna start picking up the paint once we get to that point. And you don't have to do all of your weathering right off the bat. This is just, I'm just putting an initial, and maybe going a little heavier than I normally would, but I had such deep scratches before I put the initial spray job on it that, you know, I need to make up some room here because of it. So I'm going a little heavier than I might normally would on this initial weathering to help cover up some of the crazy deep scratches I had from that rough initial paint job. And it doesn't take, yeah, you don't have to do it in any certain fashion. Just as random as possible is probably best. I mean, because after all, you know, Jason's you know, his Hawk didn't get the way that it got because he said around weathering it, it got the way that it got over years of, you know, taking out the trash, I guess. Yeah. Crystal Lake's way of taking out the trash. All right. There's actually a Crystal Lake in Arkansas over here around Decatur, but I don't think it's the same thing. I don't remember if Camp Crystal Lake was in New Jersey or where exactly that was. I'm sure maybe somebody that may eventually watch this video might have the answer to that. Right off the top of my head, I sure don't. Normally, I'm pretty whiz bang on the, you know, on the trivia there, but you know, I'm kind of new to the YouTube thing. I haven't made a lot of videos. I'm actually a really private guy. You know, I'm not one that takes, you know, big family photos and puts them on Facebook or anything like that. That's not really me. So this is a big change, actually, doing something that people can see on purpose. So, and I like to get a little around the edges here. You know, nothing. If this thing had initially been sanded right and had a good layer of a good coat of primer and paint put on it, this paint would not be coming off quite this easily. But that's all right. Happy accidents, man. That's where all the magic happens, is in the happy accidents. All right, so we'll work. I'll work a little more on this one side. I've got this side pretty beat to hell. A little around the nose here. I'm going to do a little bit more on this side here, and then I'll call it quits for today. And then I'll upload. I'll do a part 2 tomorrow. Like I said, maybe the dudes that do this stuff professionally and sell it, and you know, that the guys that are real wizards at this stuff, maybe watching the way I do this, and I mean their toes may be curling up in their shoes watching the way I do this. But like I said, this is how I learned to do it. You know, I've been one time when I was a kid, because I've always been into horror movies, always been into Freddy and Jason. When I was a kid, I actually got in huge trouble for making a Freddy glove. I basically stole a bunch of my mom's boyfriend's pocket knives, used duct tape because, you know, duct tape kind of looks like metal to an 8-year-old, and duct taped these open pocket knives to a leather work glove, and then I hid it. And this was my secret little treasure that I had. And when my mom found out, that thing had to come apart, and I got in pretty big trouble for that one. But boy, for me, for a hot minute there, you know, I mean, I had the real thing. I really had a Freddy glove. That was something, Freddy glove, Ghostbuster pack, stuff I wanted as a kid that I never got. And as an adult, you know, hey, if you can do it yourself, then why not, right? So this is just having a little therapy session here. There you go. Not getting anger or aggression out here. Hell no, I'm having the time of my life. This is just a little sanding block, little foam sanding block. They're not real hot, but they, you know, you will be amazed how many of these tiny, hard to see, almost impossible to see scratches at the time will come out once you start adding paint. So anyway, so we're just still going back to work. You know, this is Friday the 13th, part 27 mask here or something, you know. Might look a little, like I said, she's looking pretty calico at the moment with all these bare spots, but that's okay. Like I said, it will all come out. It will be, it's gonna be fantastic, and we'll just do it together, man. Buy you a $9 Hock off a Big Hush's store, and we'll do them together. Make a YouTube video, post it. Hell, maybe somebody that's never made one before can teach me something about painting them, you know? Like I said, I think the more people that know how to do something, man, everybody can add so much. You can, somebody that started something yesterday, somebody that's been doing it for 20 years can learn from them. So somebody get inspired, work on maybe making one of these things, and teach me something. I'll listen. All right, so I think this is just an initial rough up. It's looks pretty beat, but once we start putting paint back on it, you'll see that it all comes together. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and call this HockFace signing off right now, but I'll be back later and we'll do a little more talking and a little more painting and scuffing. All right, man. Have a blessed day.